Hello, Astro friends. It's Melanie on the 10th already of February 2026 with the Astro news for the week, Astro Weather here via video until the 17th of February because we're starting technically tomorrow with the Astro Weather, but I'm here today since there's so much going on, seize the day, and I thought I would record this video already. So the highlights, there's several ones of this week, a very important week of the year is Saturn fully entering Aries on Friday, the 13th of February. Fully entering Aries now until the 13th of April 2028. So we will have now soon Saturn also in Aries. Neptune has gone ahead on the 26th of January, and now Saturn follows and will catch up with Neptune for this big, super important conjunction of the year on February 20th. What's that dynamic all about? There's a strong concentration right on the cusp now from end of Pisces, where the zodiac cycle ends, to early Aries, where everything begins. This is a huge marker for our entry into a new era. And the momentum is already there. The wave is already, wave of renewal is launched via Neptune. Saturn makes it just more real, more manifest, more tangible, right? So we see more evidence for the fact that a renewal is really coming in so many ways. It's very energizing. Aries is ruled by Mars. And since Mars is in Aquarius at this point, it's also pointing back to the fact that we are moving into the Aquarius age. That's just one factor, right? Not depending on Mars, but Mars has passed Pluto. Pluto's been in Aquarius now since November 2024 until 2043, 44, and another strong indicator that a new era is starting. The era has to do, of course, also with technology, and it has to do with networks amongst humans. So technology systems in that regard, but also human community, people coming together, creating freedom cells, so to say, as we come together in awakened, liberated consciousness. And we are not being in the old Piscean dream manipulation and all the dynamic that has pulled us into all these basically entanglements in so many ways, right? Dependencies in so many ways, suffering and collective suffering, often through not being really clued in what's actually going on in a societal political level, but also, of course, spiritually, we need to wake up and to claim our freedom. This is very apropos. Aquarius and with Aries is also, it's a new beginning, and we're also claiming autonomy. And so this is one big factor. I find it also striking that Saturn enters Aries fully on Friday the 13th, which has this traditionally from the Pisces age, in fact, bad reputation, sort of being a bad luck day, and this is like everything is under a spell or really it's basically bad luck, right? But that is just a reaction to actually what's more ancient is the energy of goddess relating to Friday the 13th. Why? Because Friday is of the 7 days of the week associated with the different gods and goddesses in the Roman and Greek pantheon. Friday, and also Norse, right? Friday is the day of Freya and of Venus, of Vendredi, of Viernes, right? So it's the day of Venus, day of the love goddess, Friday. And then 13 has to do with the 13 moon cycles per year. So there are 13 new moons or full moons in every calendar year. You can check that out. I haven't exactly looked whether it's new moons or full moons this year, but it's one or the other. And so it's a Venus moon day. In other words, very feminine, very strongly goddess associated. And that was sort of threatening to those who didn't like that power. And so Friday will, Saturn, sorry, will enter Aries on Friday the 13th. That's also an interesting symbolism in that regard, right? So it's a new beginning. Actually, also the first degree of Aries, where Saturn and Neptune come together on February 20th, is very much about the emergence, and it is symbolized by a woman. So it's called a woman arising from the sea. A seal is embracing her. So there's still the residues of the oceanic oneness and oneness consciousness in animal and in the animal and plant realm, but the human in the form of a woman arises from it, and she is emerging. This is called like the primary emergence, right? And so this is an interesting connection. And strength also in terms of especially strengthening the sacred and divine feminine, of course, in this new era. Then we have the second main event this week that's starting, so midweek to midweek in my world. I just happened to evolve that way, right? You might wonder why. But the second big event will be on February 17th, which is a multiple meaningful day. And it is the first eclipse of the year, an annular solar eclipse, in other words, a new moon that is almost exact. The moon disk is in front of the sun disk, but there is a ring. Annulus means the ring, right? So there's a ring around behind the moon, sort of. We still can see the sun as a ring, right? It's also called the ring of fire, this annular solar eclipse. So that is interesting in itself because it's also the beginning in the lunar / Chinese calendar. It's the beginning of the lunar year of the yang, masculine, red fire horse. So we're having a very fiery situation here, and more fire energy is coming in with Saturn and Neptune, as I said, but also with more planets gradually moving into Aries. But anyway, we are starting here with this annular solar eclipse, and it is what I call a seed eclipse. I want to show you the chart first, right? So here's the chart for the solar eclipse, the annular solar seed eclipse, right at the end of Aquarius here, on the cusp to Pisces, where the sun goes into Pisces the next day, the 18th. And you see that cuspy new moon, and since it's close to the north node in early Pisces, that's why I call it a seed eclipse, a north node eclipse. In other words, a new seed is being planted. This is really an emphasis on renewal. We will have the complementary total lunar eclipse on March the 3rd, and that is a release eclipse because the moon will be in mid-Virgo, the sun in mid-Pisces, and that is close, very close to the south node. And south node is about release. So release of residual energy, which has been happening since the nodes have been in Pisces and Virgo. End of January last year it started and goes until August, 1.5 years typically. So we are having already this north node incentive in Pisces and the south node disincentive in Virgo that really needs to be balanced and not overdone on the Virgo mode, and rather bring in fresh energy and support from the Pisces side. And that gets also renewed with that annular solar eclipse. So what is this all about? The Aquarius Pisces continuum here, reaching over to the north node, and also having some Aquarius backdrop here, right? So it's a lot concentrated here. But this particular cusp here where it's all happening, I call it the Kuan Yin point amongst other attributes. Kuan Yin being, since it's a Chinese and Lunar New Year, very fitting. She's a Chinese goddess of compassion. So it's also about compassion for humanity. This is Aquarius Pisces or Pisces Aquarius. And blessings, blessings to humans, and also strength in our connectedness, not in our suffering, not in our collective doom, but actually in the strength of freedom. This is the Aquarius notion. And so that's what gets supported, right? The connection is very supported now with Pisces versus the Virgo side, not strong at this point, but will come out, as I said, with the next total lunar eclipse full moon. This is the contrast in Virgo is where it gets very complicated. There's so much to do, so much to sort out, so many issues and problems. Yes, I've been dealing with that as well. But also noticing, it's super helpful to be aware of these energies, where they come from, so to say, and what they are about, so that you can align in a different way. And South Node in Virgo, what needs releasing? It's this whole vibration of various concerns and complications, and so much I need to do, I never get, and yeah, so it's basically a sense of smallness, scarcity, and inadequacy even, and perfectionism sometimes too, right? Criticism, self-criticism, all of this, right? All these issues. And Pisces invites us to take a good breath, and also be in a better vibe, do something to relax also, and to connect rather than thinking you have to do it all, and it's all on you. And yeah, Pisces is very strong now, and getting in even stronger with planets moving into having been already in Pisces. Actually, the Sun is following on the 18th, as I said, and then Mars is the last one to follow. When is that the case? That's in March at some point, early March. Mars enters Pisces as well. Don't have it off here. Okay. Yeah, it could be end of February. Curious now. Just looking. Mars Mars enters Pisces on the 2nd of March. So we have it. So that will be a super Piscean environment. And for now, it's also still very Aquarian, right? So we're also, as I said, we understand systems better. We're also moving into new ways of co-creation, right? That's also Aquarius. And Mars gives us extra energy for all of this. And so this is quite a significant week of the year, only followed by the last one of these significant alignments will be February 20th, as I said, with Saturn and Neptune coming together, marking the beginning of not only a new 37-year cycle between themselves, but also, since it's at the very first degree of Aries, a whole new era, and together with the other factors. So we are in for change, we're in for renewal, and it's not going to be boring, and it's about showing up in as ourselves, for ourselves, with courage, with a sense of innocence even, right? Just venturing out. It's like a hero's journey with Aries. And that spirit of renewal and of emergence also, right? That is all very healing. This is also where you can see Saturn and Neptune coming together in Aries where already Chiron sits and waits, right? So we've been having a lot of wounding experiences. Humanity has, for sure, with all these wounds of conflict and war. And Saturn's promise is in Aries to clean that up, to say no more war. Where does war even start, and what can we do to prevent it, right? So Saturn learns from experience, right? And Neptune is also about releasing the old vibrations of war and competition, right? And as lots of things are accelerating, I really have to acknowledge that. That's also Aries. With Aries, things go fast, and it's a furious energy. It's quick and quickening. So, yeah, that is also, it's all about presence, right? The Saturn Neptune conjunction right on the cusp from Pisces to Aries. This is where it's about presence. And Saturn and Neptune together are also the signature of a spiritual teacher or teachings. So, spiritual teachings about presence, which is what is often the essence of the spiritual teaching, um, and being really in the moment, being really present and alive, and not getting sucked into monkey mind, this or that, over here, over there, but really living life in the presence and in full aliveness. This is where it's at. And there can be certainly also spiritual teachings for us, especially if you have something on this cusp ourselves, or as I've seen with a client last week, yeah, you know probably whom I mean, in early Cancer, because that's where the square is from Saturn and Neptune. So it's a conflict, contrast, but also strong impulse, right, from the early Aries side to renew ourselves in a way that can be challenging for the Cancer side. Why? Because we might, with Cancer, we might have these needs, or other people are dependent on us with their needs, and they need to be nurtured. And also, Cancer likes to go one step forward, but also two steps back into the safety zone and into the emotionally comforting place. But Aries is fierce and says, okay, I gotta show up here. I gotta do this. When, if not now? And then the early Aries energy is also in contrast and conflict potentially, or dilemma, right? This is a opposition with early Libra. If you have anything in early Libra, this is Libra is about also harmony, peace, right relationship, balance, right? Balance, but balance might typically always requires a dynamic situation between yourself and your life and others or your environment. So it's always a dance. While Aries says, this is it, right? I'm here and I show up. So it's about self versus and relationships. Then with early Capricorn, if you have something in early Capricorn, that's again another square from the early Aries side. And in early Capricorn, it's about eldering in a good way, right? Maturing, maturity, responsibility, integrity. I call this cusp the integrity point. So, so the wise one in with experience and integrity might say, "Oh well, been there, done that," even, right? Or saying, "Okay, I don't need to. I've seen it all. I've there's no room. There's not much room for renewal and new life or whatever." Right? Saturn was kind of more mm, resigned, maybe even, right? Or very clear about that and wanting simplicity also. Versus Aries, it says, no, it's time for venturing forward. Okay, I didn't know I would do this, but this is like was just a little example how this Saturn Neptune can affect you, especially if you have planets or any ascendant moon features on the cardinal cusps, right? Then, yeah, important feature this week. And also, I'd like to mention, and I had a discussion this morning with my astrology tutoring client here who came in regarding Uranus. So, what's with Uranus? Uranus is still stationary. It has gone direct from retrograde since last September, has gone direct on February 3rd, right after the last full moon. and now it's slowly coming into gears. And one might think this Uranian turnaround turmoil potentially, but also shake up in so many ways, might settle down, but I don't think so quite yet because the Uranus um, station is here in square with the late Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, new moon. So Uranus is coming out again with this new moon that's coming next week. Uranus is again a major player in more than one or two ways. And so what does that mean? So Uranus now slowly going forward in end of Taurus. So Taurus has to do also with embodying, right? So what does our body, what do our senses say? How do we feel comfortable, feel enjoyable, right? Embody joy and freedom, right? So how can that be expressed? How can we revolutionize and reinvent ourselves? Maybe through living life, fully in a very joyful way and in a very free way. And at the same time, end of Aquarius into early Pisces can have to do with community, can have to do with our connections with people. So here could be a conflict. And but when I'm saying conflicts like that, that is actually always an opportunity because typically when things go just smooth sailing, all is just rolling along, not much challenge, not much need for change, not much impulse, right? But this is definitely a very strong charge. Then yeah, so the square from Uranus, from the Sun to Uranus, will be on the on the 15th of February, and then the moon follows, of course, as the new moon on the 17th. Now, uh, I would say I will address the lunar new year of the fire horse next time when we do the astro weather for the following week, because that will be right at the onset of the Lunar New Year, and to have it a little bit more spread out and separated. That one will be a lot about the Lunar New Year and also about Saturn Neptune on the 20th coming together. So let's look at the phase in Aquarius and into the lunar phases. We're now, since yesterday, Monday, in the last 10 days of Aquarius, which has a Gemini undertone. So the Gemini Aquarius dynamic is about science. It's also about synergies, right? How to bring these different components together in a system, and also to I call it also an energy of impermanence, because with Aquarius, it's always renewing. It's always like there's an innovative quality to it. With Pisces, it's very fluid, right? And so the idea is always to be aligned with that rather than resisting it and dealing with it more in a challenging way, right? And then we have, so that's the last 10 degrees and 10 days until the 18th. Then we have, yeah, Gemini also, by the way, it's really great to be in communication with people about what's going on. And there's lots of discussions now going on anyway, and lots of news, of course, with Gemini. But ideally, it's about sharing with like-minded people, understanding better as we are you know, um, brainstorming or discussing certain issues, societally and otherwise. Then let's look at the moon. So the moon is now in Sagittarius since yesterday, just after midnight, Monday evening, just before midnight Pacific. That was the point when the moon crossed the Phoenix point from Scorpio to Sagittarius. That could have been already a lifting energy after a maybe deep, magical, but maybe also intense weekend with the moon in Scorpio and even in square with Pluto in Aquarius, and then also a half moon because the sun is in Aquarius. So that Sagittarius energy is definitely uplifting. We literally also have sunshine now sitting as I was sitting outside on my balcony a bit for lunch. And yeah, so the moon will be in Sag until Thursday, 11:44 a.m. when she enters Capricorn. So yeah, that juncture from Sagittarius Capricorn, that is again integrity point. This is also where all the inspiration, all um, the understanding, the truth that has come forth, our way of seeing things, even a path opening up. That's Sagittarius. It with Capricorn says, yeah, you got to implement it. You got to do something about it, not just in theory or not just as a great idea, but actually use it. Use your good fortune also and your gifts, right, for Sagittarius. Then Moon in Capricorn in a waning phase, approaching the new moon until Saturday, the 14th, Valentine's at 10:17 p.m. So most of Saturday also with the Capricorn waning moon. And that is an energy, definite energy of clearing of what has perhaps, since we're also talking about Saturn, right, ruler of Capricorn, showing us that we are really in a juncture now. We might have to still, while Saturn has entered Aries, but we're in a waning moon phase, we might still need to clear a lot of old energy that is heavy and drags us down. And at the same time, using our time and energy optimally, right, for the highest purpose. This is Capricorn. And working with the highest, the highest intention and highest integrity. Then the moon enters Aquarius on Saturday evening and will be in Aquarius for until the 17th of that new moon, annular solar eclipse, almost exact new moon. And so the dark Aquarius, dark to new Aquarius moon is a lot about this old systems again, to also transmuting our investment in the old systems. Maybe we have been very engaged in that, but not in an empowered way, and to renew so that we are coming into more fluidity, into more ease. That's also Pisces, right? We want to come into a lightness, into a different vibration that offers more ease, more joy, more fluidity, and less density and heaviness, right? And frozenness, also Aquarius. So yeah, and I wanted to mention also the fact that speaking of Pisces, Mercury is now in Pisces. Um, Venus just entered Pisces, yeah, this afternoon, just before I started recording, actually. Let's start with Venus. Venus just entered Pisces. You can read up the article on my blog and on the social media outlets. Venus in Pisces until March 30th, March 10th to, March 10th, I say it again, from April, I say it the third time, from February 10th until March 6th. I was getting ahead of myself thinking of Mercury, but this is Venus in Pisces, February 10th till March 6th. So this is the phase where Venus, this is the energy field that Venus loves the best. Why? Why is Venus so well positioned and exalted in Pisces? Because it's really about universal love. It's about oneness. It transcends the personal preferences, attractions, compatibilities. It's all about connection. That is more unconditional. And yeah, it has a whole different vibration to it. And we can tune into that more easily with Venus in Pisces. She invites us, and yeah, will be with us until March 6th only, but still. And then Mercury is now in Pisces since February 3rd. And now here we go until April 14th, really long in Pisces, because Mercury goes retrograde on February 25th until March 20th, spring equinox. And so Mercury is slowly coming into gears in terms of the alignments that it makes from Pisces. And I will write the article about it. I'm in the process with lots going on. But Mercury in Pisces is per se not so well positioned because Mercury rules Virgo, right, where things are more linear and analytical. But with Pisces, things can get paradoxical and can get very multidimensional, right? So it really wants a mind. It invites a mind to open up and to be more connected with different um, energy fields rather than being just in our little box here, right? Checking the boxes. And here we are. So the vibrations really matter. As we know, for communication, and that is also what Mercury in Pisces, especially in the retrograde phase, will show us. Then things are never as they seem, and this is again the spiritual dimension, right? So we could also still realize with Mercury in Pisces and retro that we are actually living in a multiverse and or in a fantasy or in a delusion, all of that, right? So it's about letting go of any concepts and agendas and all that, but rather really being open-minded and fluid and adaptable, and seeing trusting also our subtle bodies and our energy field, how we respond to information, how we respond to communication, honoring that, and if it's not conducive, swimming away from it and blessing it. Nothing we need to do about it, right? It's not about escaping, it's about the wisdom there, right? It's like the Tao in a way, right? And so in terms of Mercury, there's news this week already because Mercury will on the 12th already go into the so-called pre-retro storm, pre-retro shadow. What does that mean? That's the degree from which Mercury will eventually go backwards from. So Mercury will reach that degree in the zodiac on February 12th, from which it will go forward from again. I think I said something wrong, so Mercury retro effect. So I said again. So it's the degree in the zodiac that Mercury reaches on February 12th, from which it will on March 20th go direct again after the retrograde phase, right? So this is sort of this whole realm in the zodiac. Let me quickly check where that is. Doing a little ad hoc thing here. Mercury will go retrograde on the 25th at 22:34 Pisces, and will go direct again on the 20th of March at where are we? 20th of March with Mercury at 8:30 Pisces. Yeah, that makes sense. So Mercury reaches the 8:30 mark already for the first time on February 12th. So this whole range between 8 and 22 Pisces is sort of the window for the retro, for going forward, backward, forward, right? That loop. And in the pre-retro shadow, we might already have some premonitions. It's not shadow in terms of bad and dark and shady. It's more about, it's a foreshadowing. It's like really invites us to tune into what might to come, right? So we were better prepared. We are already picking up some hints from the future, especially with Pisces, which is so fluid anyway. So yeah, more to come about the Mercury retro phase. As I said, it starts on the 25th of February. And I close this video here because I see it's already over 30 minutes. And thank you for your interest. And if you feel others might be interested in that too, please pass it on. Please subscribe if you would like to be notified week by week when the new ones come out. and like it if you do, and check out my social media outlets. Yeah, how you can find me, right? And I put that all in the so-called show notes in the description here below. Wishing you a beautiful week of renewal. Take care. Bye.